Chowdary. Thanks so much for taking time to speak with us today. We're really excited to hear about your experience with SyAqua feed and how it's been working for your hatchery. So we would love to get your insight on how SyAqua feeding's approach has impacted your operation, especially compared to more traditional practice in the industry. So feel free to share openly, and if there are any things you would like to clarify along the way, just let me know. So let's start with your overall experience. How has it been using SyAqua feed exclusively in your hatchery, especially compared to the cocktail feeding approach that many Indian hatcheries still use?
It's my pleasure to share my experiences with you, Nikki. And this usage of SyAqua feeds is in our minds for the last couple of years. But honestly speaking, uh, the hatchery technicians fraternity, even without completely getting to know the value what is present in the feed, they used to come up with a problem that if you use SyAqua feeds, there's a water problem, there is a feed acceptance is poor, and there's a lot of ammonia in water, which is actually lethal to the PLs at any point of stage. These are some of the apprehensions or that used to be from the hatchery technicians from our side, from at our hatchery. So there are many reasons to it, because they're accustomed to using certain feeds. I don't want to mention the name of the feeds for ethical considerations here.
Mhm.
And so, initially, our plan at Sandhya Aqua Exports is to use 25% of SyAqua as a cocktail feed. And see, when we use 25%, and measuring out or tracking the results would be extremely difficult. So then, what I told my technicians is, one or two tanks, we will go with complete SyAqua protocol, meaning using SyAqua feeds from Zoya till packing stage. We did that for one or two tanks, and when our technicians complained about the feed getting not accepted, or so, I got in touch with our technical team. So the ration of the feed that is being used is also quite less. So hatchery technicians need to be what you call educated or primed about how to use the SyAqua feeds. That is point number one. And when we started using this SyAqua feeds, and when we started tracking data, the tanks are clean with much cleaner water in the PL tanks. Outcome of it would be lesser or no ammonia. Having, when there's cleaner water, the PLs will be active. And one staring observation from our side is, if you use SyAqua feeds, the PL size would be little bit larger than actual when we started using the traditional feeds. So, I mean, from our journey started, we actually wanted to start our journey at using 25%. Now we are using it at 100%.
Good to hear. So from what I hear is that we have like clear improvement, like better growth uniformities, size consistency, and water quality.
When it comes to the observation point, it has to follow a flow chart. Like, for example, if you use SyAqua feeds at the ration allowed, or when you completely track the usage of the feeds, so what it does is it keeps the tank water cleaner, meaning you need very less number of water to be exchanged, or low volume of water to be exchanged. And it actually gives the PLs, it actually gives PLs more robustness, because when there is a clean water, the PLs are, more, what you call, the robustness of the PLs will be good.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
the size of the PLs, if it is a PL8, it actually appears to be as PL10. So the size of the PL is actually one staggering feature which we observed at our hatchery. And even the survivals, generally I'm being honest here, the market perception or the perception at hatcheries is that if you start using SyAqua feeds, either the survival will be low, or you know the performance of the PLs while packing is low, which is not the case. These are all perceptions, without having any scientific data backup. We have done this exclusively for the entire, not one or two tanks. I'm actually telling you this data when we completed one cycle only with SyAqua feeds. So
That
there's
is
no other
good.
feeds or anything. Yes. Yeah.
That is good.
Yeah.
And you mentioned earlier that you using less quantity with SyAqua feed compared to other brand,
See,
and
this,
I
yeah.
believe that impact like on feed cost and operational efficiency.
This what happened is, even when we tried this with one or two tanks, our technicians, because this is again a perception, when they came out and they told me that the tanks are not cleaner, the tanks are getting polluted, there's less acceptancy.
Mhm.
Then I got in touch with our technical team at SyAqua, who actually told me to go for a ration feeding approach, which means that it's a kind of demand feeding. Because see, if you actually in hatcheries, it is very difficult to understand that, but when you see in a grow out, Waname is a robust eater. You feed them 10 times it eats, right?
Yeah.
In the hatchery, what happens is, because of the huge densities of PLs in a very limited, say 10 tons of water, so you need to ration it so that it takes the minute when you feed, so that there is no leftover that gets mixed up with water to pollute the water. Traditionally, if you are using say 100 grams of any other feed, as I mentioned
Mhm.
earlier, I don't want to mention any of the commercial names here
Yeah.
for the ethical consideration. I already given it in written.
Yes.
So SyAqua feeds has to be used in a ration of say 75 to 85 grams, meaning 75% to 85% of the other feeds. So approximately there will be around 20% of the feed saving in terms of consumption. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But the actual benefit that happens is you're using less feed, so there's very little chances of water getting polluted. And when there is a clean water, the PLs are active. This is
Yes.
a cyclic effect. This is a cyclic effect that the technicians fraternity should understand. So I think I made my point with respect to the see, more than monetary benefit, Nikki. Here
Yeah.
what we need to understand is, don't use feed what is not required. I mean, if it is 75% or 75 grams is sufficient, don't use 100 grams.
Yeah.
That actually pollutes the tank. So that needs to be, that message has to be carried down to the technicians fraternity.
Mhm. And for the hatchery that still use the cocktail feeds, what would you say to them from the lesson that
See,
you have from your experience?
I mean, as I mentioned, this is a significant paradigm shift, in terms of using single feeds. Traditionally, hatcheries, or hatchery technicians per se, or even if there are market leaders in the hatchery feeds, uh, even then they will be using 10, 20, 30, depending on the 10, 20, 30, depending on the what you call the before water exchange. That means they use cheaper feeds before water exchange. They think that when you do water exchange, even the cheaper feed goes out. That is not the strategies we should be following up. You know, I mean, I have a suggestion for SyAqua as well at this juncture, because hatchery technicians has to be told to take up this kind of a trial at one or two tanks initially. That may take about 20 days for each hatchery, but they will come to realization that following a single protocol is the way to go. And we have done it and we have proven it also. And it is not that, I mean, I'm being honest here, there is a lot of perceptions. These are not realities, these are perceptions,
Yes.
that if you use SyAqua feeds, PL quality will be low, or the PLs will not be active. they will not be active if you use 100 grams like any other feed if you use. Okay, you need to ration it. You need to use only the optimum feed when it is required, not more feed. Any feed which is used more than required actually pollutes the water.
There's
So this, yeah, and
not too much of anything.
yeah, not too much of anything. Ultimately the decision should rest with the hatchery based on what works best for them. But we have done it. We are ready to show to any hatchery fraternity or technicians who wanted to come and visit our facility. We are open to it. We can show them, which is documented already. Okay, which is documented, which is we have all the videos. We can showcase that. I mean, I'm being honest, Nikki. I used to have even the same feeling as what our technicians used to feel. If we use as a single feed, or if you increase the ration to 50%, the PL quality may go for a toss, which is not the case. Now we are using it at 100%. We a good quality PLs. So that's my take. And you can actually if at all there are any apprehensions from the hatchery side, we are ready to answer, or we can actually show them our facility.
Yeah, I'm very happy to hear that you're happy with the result. And the last question, for the future, how do you see SyAqua feed helping your hatchery stay successful and competitive in the Indian market?
Initially, SyAqua actually benefited from its reliable genetics. Genetics is SyAqua's strength. And, I'm recollecting your ex-CEO once, when these genetics used to be at what you call very limited supply. So, like me, every hatchery operator used to be requesting them for genetics. Then he replied for one of my queries telling that SyAqua genetics, if it has to perform well, it has to, go with the SyAqua feed regime and protocol. At that point of time, I'm talking about 2 years back, I did not understand that. But now, when I realized that, there's this kind of a potential feed, and which is actually, when you combine both genetics and this feed, it is a strong competitive edge. It is for hatcheries to decide, and it's not only about low consumption. When then there's low consumption, it enhances overall hatchery health as well. There's a little water exchange that is required. That means the same number of staff will be used, but they will get some enough space for them to do other things, better things in the hatchery, instead of only doing water exchange all the time. So this is my take. We have that competitive advantage. We would like to ride on it.
Yes, good. Very good to hear that. So thank you so much for sharing your experience. It's very helpful to hear directly from someone working in with the feed every day. If you have any final thought, any suggestion, I would love to hear.
The only thing, this is my take. SyAqua has to, either educate, suggest, or whatever better word that is. I mean, that's a paradigm shift that the hatchery fraternity, technicians fraternity has to take it on, that this is a good quality feed. You need to start using it in full to realize what is in there in the feed. If you use it in cocktail, you'll not be able to see what is really in it. You don't know the advantage of where you're getting it from, right? So, I mean, there are the hatchery fraternity is being using the cocktail feeds for a long time. It's time, I think, to shift to single feed system and try out, to find out what is best. And SyAqua has to play a what you call this solution provider mechanism, so that everyone gets this insights of using SyAqua feeds.
Yeah. So that's why we have interview with you, so that you can share the experience. So because you're the one who use it and you see the good result. So that's wrap up all our question. Thanks again for your time and great input. We will compiling your insight to help other in the industry to learn more about SyAqua feeds, and wishing you continued success at your hatchery.
Thank you, Nikki. Thank you.
Thank you.